Greetings! I am Adventure Argonaut. This is the Chrono Jotter. I'm streaming a bit earlier today because I noticed I have free time. So first let's see that the streams are up. Twitch and Kick are fine. Maybe even Rumble. Well, what is this? I think so, yes. Okay. We have streams and they work. Sounds like some cheaty shenanigans. This is the latest save. So yesterday, all my troubles seem so far away, but also, what was her name? Koizumi was found hanged, and yeah, at first, at least character seemed to assume it was suicide, but we found some evidence on her hands that they seemed too clean and stuff. So maybe it wasn't suicide after all. Is it just me, or is something seriously wrong with this situation? Even when it was time for dinner, Asakura's seat still remained empty. Asakura-san, I don't know where she's gone. She still hasn't replied to my texts. I got a flash of insight. Maybe they work together, like Asakura and Koizumi, to I don't know, create a double murder suicide thingy or something to confuse everybody because neither is very happy here or something. It's been some time since I've seen her as well. Do you think she's been murdered? But don't we already have Koizumi as the victim? Why would there be more murders after that? Not to mention that I was suspicious that Asakura was the culprit anyways. Really? Just trying to think that, I guess it could be possible that that Koizumi hanged herself on purpose, like it's not even related to the murder stuff. Like I guess you can kill somebody or yourself without, drawing the card or anything. Because, they draw cards to determine who is gonna be the killer and stuff, and maybe this is related to the whole, the proper murder scheme. Maybe. Well, in theory, the culprit is allowed to kill people other than the designated victim. Like if the culprit were obstructed or just wanted to make the case even more complex. Of course, if they get exposed before they even get to their designated victim, then it's 0 points for them. So they get points for killing? That's the first time I've heard about it. Right, that time Asakura killed me in the recall. It was because she was afraid that I'd notice an inconsistency. Makoto could still be alive. If she's in a situation like what Ran and Hinata encountered before, that'd be quite unfortunate. We should go look for her. Miss Sakura is right. Let's go looking. Dinner can wait until afterwards. The students paired up and started searching all over the school for Makoto Asakura. Except Miho and Aya, who would normally be inseparable from each other, had split up, this time with Miho partnering with Sai and Aya partnering with Tama. Ran and And, on the other hand, went together to the schoolhouse to search for Asakura. Even though the lights were on in the hallways, it was still quite dark. Ran and Anne intertwined their fingers and stuck very close to each other. Are you afraid of the dark, Ran? Yes, a little bit. Really, it's other things I'm afraid of. The two of them slowly advanced, calling out Asakura's name as they walked. Soon they reached the damaged stairwell that Ran had discovered previously. Miss Sakura, do you know when exactly these stairs broke down? Hmm. The situation is now very different from before, and disregarding the other students, perhaps Miss Sakura, who shares certain peculiarities with me, can tell me something useful. Yeah, it was when we just arrived at the school. We wanted to visit the second floor to see what was up there. Makoto was at the very front when suddenly the stairs just completely collapsed. Hmm. Well, haven't they found a way around them? Like, perhaps you could climb from the side, or is there no like fire escape they could use to go up there? Something like that? Or use a rope ladder or something? Because Makoto was really tall, she didn't trip even when she lost her footing. She just sort of stood there in the pit of astonishment. At the time, we all found it hilarious. What? That's it? And the second floor, what was there? We are not really sure. We never tried going up again. Mostly because there's no use for the upstairs. The school is very old in many places and there are visible signs of decay. We were worried that the other stairs were suffering from similar issues, so out of safety concerns, we didn't make any other attempts. Hmm. But the rooms we frequently use are all in a very good shape. Only the places we almost never go seem old and dilapidated. Hmm. So I guess it somehow psychically absorbs energy from them, like, sort of like, if you are not being observed, you don't exist. But if you are being observed, then you exist more clearly, maybe, sort of like that. I never noticed. Could it really be that simple? If I'd known, I would have asked Indo directly and saved myself a lot of speculation. We've only shown you around to the most commonly used areas after all. After Anne finished speaking, the phone in Ran's pocket began to vibrate, echoing slightly in the hallways. She unlocked it and looked at the message from Tama. Ibuki-san, we found Asakura's corpse near the swimming pool, so she has been killed. Miho and Aya illuminated Makoto Asakura's corpse with a flashlight, while Tama sat next to her with dull eyes. Ooh. Sai was in the water pushing Asakura's corpse towards the edge of the pool and was about to start lifting her out. Yeah, and they just earlier put the disinfectant powder into the pool or whatever that was. At first glance, it looks like she drowned, but there's no froth around her mouth or nose. Did Yoruno wipe it off? And I was the one who drew Asakura's card before this. I'm getting more and more confused. Hmm. Haran only took a single glance at the corpse before quickly walking to Tama's side and kneeling down to place a hand on her shoulder. Indo, are you okay? Tama turned her head but didn't speak. Ran had to wave her hand in front of her a few times before she suddenly took a deep breath, blinked, and began to speak. You're here, Ibuki-san. You found the corpse in the water. Yoruno-san changed into her swimsuit and went down to get her out. Initially there was some kind of white foam on Asakura-san's face for some reason. Yoruno-san helped wipe it off of her, for her. Aha, so there was the foam. Indo, you don't need to tell me about all that yet. I'm asking you, are you okay? Me, I'm fine. Tama stood up and took a few steps, and Ran followed her to a place slightly further away from the edge of the pool. I was expecting you to have started bawling or something, honestly. Tama smiled in embarrassment and nodded. That's probably what would have happened before, but not anymore. After talking it out with Asakura-san, we each changed in ways greater than I could have imagined. And the most important thing is that after I saw Asakura-san's corpse, I had a sudden revelation. I wanted to write a letter that conveys my thoughts and feelings to Asakura-san, but I couldn't come up with a thesis that I was satisfied with. Now I've found it. What? The conclusion I needed to find was one about the concept of reliance, the source of meaning in life, as well as the reason why the young mistress taught me my letters in the first place. Tama stared directly in front of her as she spoke dryly, as though she was reading what she'd written down in her draft, word for word. And after Tama finished speaking, Ran suddenly lost her balance and fell to her left side. She instinctively reached for and grabbed Tama's shoulder as the massive headache brought her to a knee. I remember now. Yanagiwara Shirahana and Indo Tama. A mere connection like this was sufficient to. Gah! Ibuki-san, what's wrong? Hearing Tama's cries, Anne, who'd been standing by the pool, rushed over as well. She kneeled at Ran's side and softly stroked her back. Ran! New recall point. I guess. Talk about the memories. Like maybe this will create more conflict or something, but hey, I wanna know more about what's going on. Everything before Ran began to twist and distort before finally fading out into the infinite darkness. In 1923, at the end of August, the great Yanagiwara family suffered a massive earthquake on the way to Gunma Prefecture. Like a pliant rope, the firm railroad was twisted and shredded by the swollen earth, and the train that the Yanagiwara clan was riding in was flung down the cliffs and crushed into scrap metal by the other train cars. Tama Indo, who'd accompanied them on this trip, had wanted to simply wait then and there for death to descend. But she discovered that the eldest daughter of the Yanagiwara family, Shirahana Yanagiwara, was trapped in the deepest recesses of the twisted rail car. Tama, who'd served the Yanagiwara clan with her parents since she was young, had never spoken with this young lady before. But when she saw Shirahana's slack-jawed and cheerful visage, it enkindled in her the determination to survive. She struggled to her feet, kicked the corpse off from atop her legs, ripped apart the remains that obstructed her path, and using some other deceased victim's arms, protected herself from and crowbarred open the razor-sharp shrapnel that the steel doors had been twisted into. Wait, she's using somebody else's arm to twist open steel doors? Maybe it's just me, but it doesn't sound believable. Tama Indo saved Shirahana Yanagiwara from the wreckage of the train and supported her all the way until they reached an inhabited settlement. After that, Tama pawned the jewelry that her mother had left her and rented a house in the village with the money she'd saved up from working for many years. After that, to maintain their lifestyle, she worked odd jobs wherever there was a need for an extra pair of hands in the village. With her first paycheck, she bought pen and paper to let Shirahana write a letter to her family's main residence in Yokohama. But whether it was because the main residence had been turned into ruins by the earthquake as well, or because the couriers were unable to successfully deliver the message after such a terrible disaster, the letter disappeared tracelessly. Shirahana Yanagiwara spent her days in sorrow after that, but in stark contrast, Tama Indo, who only knew how to live as a servant, found herself full of energy and vitality. Unable to find a connection to the world due to the massive changes in her life, Shirahana resorted to reckless acts of self endangerment as a way to stimulate herself. She even attempted to kill herself multiple times through all of those attempts were though all those attempts were caught and stopped by Tama. After many years, Shirahana had finally come to terms with the reality of her situation and abandoned her hopes of returning to her previous life. She began considering how she could repay Tama's generosity. Shirahana knew that if she were to vanish, Tama would very likely find herself directionless and adrift, so she decided she would try to expand Tama's world. Thus she decided she would teach Tama Indo to read. She believed that literacy would cause Tama to gain faculties of independent thought. Only by learning to think one could begin to possess self-actualization and begin to live for their own sake. After the frail Shirahana eventually perished from an illness, Tama was left all by herself. She strongly felt that the meaning to her existence had been to take care of Shirahana, and that in doing so she could experience and revel in the pleasure of existence. And because of this, she understood the meaning behind the young mistress's choice to teach her to read and write. Tama Indo began to write a manuscript that detailed her philosophy and the difficult life she'd led for the past few decades. In her late years, Tama Indo passed her last moments of life in Yokohama. Her manuscript was ultimately collated by others into a novel which was formally published under the name of Shirahana Yanagiwara. Aha. Rannibuki closed a book named Memories of the Kanto Earthquake. She found herself quite attracted to the ideas within the book. So treasuring another person was something that could eventually be transformed into a deeper and weightier philosophy that granted more meaning than to her own obsession with Ansakura, just as she'd hoped it would. Tama Indo. Uh, wait. I've updated profile of Indo your letter. Okay. I have a theory what that means. Here. Yes, she has experienced the Great Kanto earthquake responsible for teaching physics at the school. Her excessive concern for Makoto Asakura is a projection of her feelings for her young mistress. The hardships that Tama Indo experienced in in the days after she survived the Great Kanto earthquake with Yanagiwara, Shirahana laid the foundation for her to write Memories of the Kanto earthquake. With deep, thought-provoking meditations on the nature of life and dedication, the book painted a striking image of the struggle to survive after the earthquake. So I guess that page was like the narrators, and this is um, what's her name, Ran's own notes. Dresses wounds as quickly as side chops vegetables. Always reading such difficult books. I wonder if Indo's going to wind up writing something someday. Well, now we know. Okay. There's next page. If I could be said to once have been trapped in a world of impenetrable and untraversable darkness, then where Miss Sakura was the pathway that appeared beneath my feet, Indo's book was the light that dispelled the darkness and allowed me to see the road under my feet that Miss Sakura had laid out for me. That allowed me to live onwards. But just what kind of feelings did Dama really hold for her young mistress? I want to find out, even if I'm worried that I'll find the answer terrifying. Yes, Ibuki-san. She can sense the deep-seated similarities between Asakura and Shirahana Yanagiwara. That's why she's so concerned about Asakura. But Asakura and her young mistress still have fundamental differences. Why does my head still hurt so intensely, much more than it did any of the previous times? Even though the memories have already been restored, it still hurts so much. Something's wrong. Are Indo's memories somehow different in nature from that of Koizumi sensei and Asakura's? Miss Sakura! Anne knelt on the ground and held Ran's hand tight. Ran, I'll bring you back to the dorms to rest. But the corpse! Ah, let me and the others handle it. You look terrible right now. Anne helped Ran stand up, and the two leaned on each other as they headed towards the dorms. Ran laid on the bed, her brain still in total disarray. After Anne helped tuck Ran in, she sat at the bedside and combed her hand through Ran's hair. Does it still hurt? I can wait with you until you fall asleep if you want. You're still so good to me, Miss Sakura, even if your personality is so different from how it used to be. Oh, then between the current me and the past me, which one do you like more? I like them both. Anne had clearly predicted that Ran would say that and continued. My personality has changed and my memories are completely different. Other than looking the same as the Anne you liked, she and I share no similarities. Or are you saying that you only loved Anne for the way she looked? No, so the way her felt and the way she. Of course, I love you the way I love the way you look, Miss Sakura, but not just that. Ran's voice tapered down into a tiny whisper. I like being together with you and doing all kinds of things together with you, and I like the feeling of being taken care of by you, Miss Sakura. And strokes of Ran's hair slowed down a bit, and she took a long time to respond. Miss Sakura? It's nothing, sleep tight. Anne swept her hand down Ran's face, closing Ran's eyes. Good night. The sound of rumbling stars approached the room once more, so I immediately took control of Ran's body and sat her upright. I warned you several times not to disturb Ran Ibuki again. The fact that I don't know how exactly you and this school are connected is the only reason that I haven't. My life is like unto a candle's last vestiges of flickering in the wind, but Ran Ibuki can find me a path to survival. Hearing this, I tilted my head and peered at the countless stellar bodies behind it. Their revolutions accelerated and decelerated at uneven intervals. It seemed to imply some kind of disorder. You're about to die? It didn't answer me. From what I could tell, its external appearance and the sounds of its stellar revolution hadn't changed at all. Perhaps it had long ago entered a state where it was merely waiting to die. Was that why the school seemed so dilapidated? Was that related to its impending demise? If Ranibuki remains in this place, my existence will be prolonged. I don't care if you live or die. I'm sure Ran Ibuki would say the same thing. Don't try to use a reason like that to make Ran stay here. But Anne was here. If Ran was unable to depart with her, how would she choose? And if Ran Ibuki chose to dwell here in perpetuity, how would I respond? It was as though it had guessed what I was thinking and presented me with a question I was already contemplating. Ran Ibuki ought to do as she wants. On a fundamental level, there's no such thing as any choice for me to make. I placed her hand on her chest and felt her steady heartbeat. I belonged to her. It began shifting its massive body as though it were preparing to depart. This was its shortest visit to Ran's room yet. Had it already achieved its goals? I cannot detect any signs from you that your life is nearing its end. Why do you say that you are close to your demise? If Ran Ibuki departs this place, the answer to the query will be self-evident. If Ran Ibuki remains in this place, the query itself will lose all meaning. Okay. If you don't want to give me a straight answer, just say that. What's the point of standing here just to say all this mysterious nonsense to me? The sound of revolving stars gradually grew distant, and after the door quietly closed, I sat on the side of the bed and awaited the disappearance of the sounds for good. After confirming that it wouldn't return, I lay back down in bed and hugged her shoulders. Just what choice will you make, Ron? No matter what, though, I'll always protect you. Good night, Ran Ibuki. A stinging headache pulled Ran from her dream. She opened her eyes and quietly moaned. How come my head hurts so much, even after waking up? Good morning, Ibuki-san. Ran saw Miho sitting by the side of her bed and momentarily startled before realizing. Oh right, my current roommate is Take. Ran sat up and took a deep breath, feeling that her headache would soon dissipate. Right, how was Asakura's corpse? We didn't find anything special, no additional external injuries. The cause of death was most likely drowning. About could it be she been poisoned or something? You didn't cut the corpse open to check? No, even if we did, we wouldn't know what to check in the first place. Do you have any ideas? Probably a better idea to focus on the first case. With Asakura, there's really not much. Miho Take suddenly shut her eyes and pressed her face in closely to Ran's. Ran quickly shrank away in response. The hell? You're sweating this much on a day as cold as this? Hearing that, Ran immediately lifted her arms and gave her own body a thorough sniffing. The last thing she wanted to do was drive Anne away. Clearly, I don't actually smell at all. Don't scare me like that. Take, Mia stood up, revealing a rare, playful smile on her face. You didn't have a chance to shower after you got back last night, didn't you? There's nobody in the bathroom right now. Wanna go? Sure. I could use an opportunity to think over recent events properly by myself. Are we gonna recall point, jump back in time again? Ra didn't make a habit of showering in the morning, but she had plenty of intimate memories of having done so before. I'm gonna get some water for my tea. I'll be right back. Alrighty, I am back. Because it definitely meant that she and Anne had done something exhausting together on the previous night, leaving the two of them too expended to even shower and forcing them to wait until the next day to wash the fatigue from their bodies. Feels like it's been a long time since I've wondered just what the fundamental nature of this school is, ever since I started integrating myself into this school life. Ran leaned against the walls of the bathtub as the hot water lapped up and down over her collarbone. She found that letting it rise to that position was most comfortable for her. This probably also This is probably also related to how I've been regaining my memories. My interactions with Koizumi sensei, with Asakura and Indo feel completely different than before. There are still a few people whose memories I haven't reclaimed yet. I wonder what their relationship with me might have been. Ran intertwined her fingers tightly under the water. Ah! She let out a long shout. I hope they're not like Koizumi sensei, where I've done something to them that I can't make amends for. I really couldn't take it if that was the case. Ran flapped her arms under the surface of the water, raising the currents that knocked against her body. On note of integrating into them, another part of it is that, consciously or not, I've started to enjoy playing this deduction game with them, haven't I? Even though Miss Sakura influenced me to enjoy logic games like this, at the start I was still trying to figure out how to make them stop committing such acts. But then, once Indo's corpse appeared, all those thoughts seemed to have evaporated. My whole brain became completely preoccupied with figuring out how Indo was killed. Ran plunged her face into the bathwater and spoke in burbles. But it's really quite interesting. The recalls are being more flexible than usual too. After all, they're usually not such an effective tool most of the time. I don't know if they're still so effective. Ran lifted her face and brushed her soggy bangs to one side. No matter what, memories have to be an important part of this, whether it's Miss Sakura's memories or the others' memories. Let's solve the case first and then try to get all the remaining memories back. Ibuki-san? Indo, what is it? I'm sorry for interrupting. Could we wash together? Why is Indo coming in to wash up now? Sure, no problem. Ran had originally thought that Tama would need some time to change out of her clothes before entering and that she could use this time to prepare herself mentally, but she hadn't expected that Tama would just immediately pull the door open and barge right in, already fully undressed. Now, why does that remind me of Asakura, asking if she can come in while already having fully prepared on the assumption that I would say yes? After Tama entered, the first thing she did was bow lightly towards Ran. That sight made Ran a bit nervous, and she subconsciously shifted her gaze away. My apologies for the disturbance. I guess that should be Ojamashimasu. Do you come in for the morning showers often, Indo? As Ran spoke, she swam to the edge of the bath, making room for her in advance. Oh, not usually. After I figured out what to write last night, I pulled an all-nighter at the dorms and finished it all in one go. Tama smiled awkwardly from under the shower head. It's convenient since Asakura-san isn't present for the moment, so I wouldn't impact anyone else by working overnight. As the fragrant and warm water showered onto Tama's skin, a drop of water slid from her shoulders to her heels. Ran couldn't help but trace the path of that drop of water in a single time with her eyes. And then I went right to bed without washing. How about you, Ibuki-san? Oh, pretty much the same for me. I turned in early because of my headache. How do you feel now? Has it gotten better? Yeah, much better. Tama smiled with sincerity and nodded. Indo's novel had a huge impact on me, the way she saw Shirahana Yanagiwara as the meaning to her life and how she was able to use that to raise deep philosophical insights. Miss Sakura Sakura is equally important to me, but if I lost Miss Sakura, I doubt I'd be able to leverage that into enlightenment and insight the way that Indo did. Not to mention pouring the rest of my life into writing a work that expressed it. I'd probably have done something drastic instead. But Miss Sakura is still here, so what Indo wrote down about how a truly worthwhile life could be anchored in another person that you treasured was a strong source of support for me. Like, if I were walking alone on a remote trail whose destination I didn't know, and then someone appeared and took my hand and led me forwards and told me that it was correct for me to head in this direction. It is surely correct to anchor the meaning of one's life to someone else. After Tama finished washing the suds of herself and immersed herself in a bath, she turned to face Ran. Would you like me to scrub your back for you, Ibuki-san? Even though this was a suggestion that almost couldn't be refused, or make him an offer he can't refuse, Ran Ibuki still waved it off. Forget about it, already finished washing up. So your letter's done? Once Asakura-san returns, I'll show it to her. Let's work hard together after this, Ibuki-san, so that we can bring Asakura back sooner. Ran Ibuki rose with a nod and stepped out of the bathtub. Tama's eyes widened as she stared, and Ran was pretty sure she knew where she was looking. Leave it to me, quietly Ran said under her breath. Consider it repayment for everything you've done for me. I guess I will save. It's been already like 30 minutes, so saving every now and then is good. After showering, Ran arrived at the dining room in a cheerful mood. Sai had already prepared breakfast, and the rest of her classmates had already taken their seats and were waiting for the food to be served. What if Sai gets killed? Can anybody cook? Ran, does your head still hurt? It's all better thanks to you, Miss Sakura. Ran said so as she took her head seat next to Anne. I didn't do anything though. It was Miss Sakura who brought me back to the dorms after all. Yeah, about that. How come you collapsed again? It was downright weird not to have you around to do your pretentious analysis thing after we threw the corpse out of the pool. While Sai was making fun of Ran, she set down a bowl of dumpling soup in front of Ran. Oh, the school even has something like this. I used to love this dish when I was a kid. Yeah, there's still plenty. If you want more, just let me know. I'll get you another bowl. It's alright, one bowl's enough. Ran picked up the vinegar bottle on the table, added some to the soup, but her hands suddenly shook and she dumped way too much vinegar into her bowl. The pungent scent of acidic vinegar spread. The pungent stench of mildew emanates from the wet dungeon walls. Wrinkling her brow, she shook her hand and tried to dispel it, but the sour smell suddenly gave her a flash of inspiration. Wait, Asakura's corpse was. Take, come with me to the morgue in a moment. I want to check Asakura's corpse again. Sure, no problem. I can go anytime. Miss Sakura, would you like to come as well? Sure. Are you really going to be able to drink that, though? Ran lowered her head, seeing the spreading of vinegar slowly tinge her bowl in a soup of dark shade. It was like the pool, like when they were putting the disinfectant into the pool, there was some weird dark thing there. It's fine, I'm used to being sour after all. The silence that fell over the dining room gave Ran's spontaneous joke an unanimous score of 0 points. So, cut here, right? Right. Both the trachea and the esophagus. Wearing a pair of antimicrobial gloves, Miho made a Y-shaped incision into Asakura's chest cavity. Following Ran's instructions, she found the part of the trachea that connected to the lungs. Can't quite get a good view of this angle. One moment. Miho used the back of her hand to push against the muscles around the trachea. She held the trachea with her fingers while she used her other hand to slowly cut the tube open with a scalpel. Next to her, Ran stuck her head in here and there, not wanting to miss a single detail of Miho's autopsy. Ran, do you enjoy watching people cut up corpses? Of course not, Miss Sakura. I just think it's a good idea to observe in depth when an opportunity like this presents itself. I've encountered corpses before this, but the more knowledge one has on this sort of thing, the better, right? Anne nodded, seemingly accepting Rand's statement. Ibuki-san, look, the incision is complete. Miho let out a breath and almost let herself wipe off the sweat on her brow with her hand. Thanks for the hard work. Ran sucked up some lingering fluid from the windpipe with a pipette and transferred it to a pH test paper. Let's wait a moment for that to resolve. Okay, next up, try making an incision in the esophagus. You don't need to cut the whole thing. An incision somewhere around the neck will be fine. Then does it mean that Sai is the killer? Because here she has something to do with the pool, and she's supposedly the last one who saw Koizumi alive, like coming from the showers. But maybe she never came from the showers. I'll give it a try. Miho took a deep breath and then buried herself in the dissection of Asakura's body once again. Ron, why are you testing the pH value? Because yesterday when I went to disinfect the pool with Yoruno, we adjusted the pH of the pool. By testing the pH of the water that flowed into Asakura's windpipe as she drowned, we can figure out exactly when she drowned. I see, but there must be plenty of blood mixed up in it as well by now. Is testing still possible? I think so. The pH value of blood is pretty close to the pool's post-adjustment value. Whereas before adjustment the pool's pH was 9. The difference is quite significant. The pH test strip slowly turned deep green, making the answer self-evident. So it's 9. So does it mean that she drowned before they put the pH, the disinfectant stuff into the pool? So she'd been dead for a while and she was like shoved into the pool afterwards? Is that what it means? Wow, it really did change color, and here I was wondering if the redness of the blood might interfere with the color changing properties of the test paper. Well, we mostly pipetted up some water just now, and if you really have to test pH of blood, you can. It's just that in that case you would want to use a glass rod to pick up a very small amount of it. Alright, the esophagus incision is done too, Ibuki-san. Ran repeated the same procedure. The pH of the fluid in the esophagus was the same as the sample she'd taken from the trachea. We can be doubly certain of it now. Asakura definitely drowned before Yoruna and I went to disinfect the pool. Then I guess Yoruna is not the killer, otherwise why would she be doing it? Unless it's somehow to, get rid of the evidence, but I doubt it. Then the body must have been hidden somewhere before it was thrown into the pool. There's still a lot of strange things about Asakura's case though. Firstly, why did the culprit kill her? Did Asakura discover a key clue, or was Koizumi's death a distraction and Asakura was the actual target all along? Oops. She was the target all along. What do you think, Miss Sakura? Anne looked at the two colored pH test papers before opening her mouth. Maybe it's Anne finally. She has to be the killer at some point. Did the culprit know that that disinfecting the pool would change its pH value, and it's not obvious why they bothered to move the corpse out of the water before tossing the corpse right back in after? Yeah. Are we overthinking this? Stat. Okay, do you have any thoughts? Miha was standing blankly next to the sink washing her hands. The sound of flowing water had been going on for quite some time. Take! Ibuki-san? Miho gave a small start as she came back to her senses and shut the faucet. Anything the matter? Do I need to make another incision? No, what's up with you spacing out like that? Miho wiped her hands dry and took her place beside the two again. Why no, thinking about the situation with Toyama. No. Miho's retort had yet to leave her lips before she closed her mouth and nodded. But there's no point in thinking about it. This problem can be solved. Looks like I'm going to have to put the case on hold for a bit again. Come on. There's dead bodies, and even though they're not permanently dead, but still, teenage romance stuff, whatever. That's because neither of you two have actually tried to solve the problem, have you? While Miss Sakura and I are both here, you ought to take the opportunity to have a proper chat with us about it. Miho nodded and turned to cover Asakura's exposed chest cavity with a cloth before continuing. Telling you two about it is probably the most effective thing I can do, since the problem that Aya and I are having probably exists between you two as well. Ridiculous, I would never get in a fight with Miss Sakura. How impressive of you. Yeah, it's, if you are in a normal relationship for long enough time, you will have fights. Even if I don't have my memories of previous interactions with Ran, I'll still try my best to help. Ibuki-san, in your relationship with Anne before, are you the one who confessed to her? Wait, hold on a second. The reason you were arguing with Aya was something to do with your romantic relationship? That's right, that's why I said it was the kind of issue that outsiders would consider negligible. That's how most relationship issues are. For the people involved, it's the biggest deal ever. I'm sure an observer would call the whole thing ridiculous and pointless. Would others consider my feelings for Miss Sakura to be strange as well? Yes, I would. But I couldn't possibly fully express the love I hold for Miss Sakura without being so fervent. Sure then, I was the one who confessed at the time. And you decided the opportunity to confess had arrived because you felt like the relationship between you two had developed into an acceptable point, right? I wouldn't really call it an opportunity. A confession is a way of making a promise to both sides of a relationship once both sides' feelings have built at an appropriate level. Directly confessing to someone that you think you like is nothing more than just gambling on your luck, right? As for me at the time, someone said something to me that inspired the courage in me I needed to confess to Miss Sakura. Just who said that thing to me and what did they say? I've forgotten even something that significant to me. Then maybe it's one of the girls here if she doesn't remember it. So someone else encouraged you to confess to Anne? Sure, I guess, but at the time I was already deeply in love with Miss Sakura. It was just that I was too afraid to imagine what it'd be like to be in an actual relationship with Miss Sakura, so I kept putting it off. Was I really scary before? Of course not, it was just that I felt like I couldn't live up to you, Miss Sakura. Anne Sakura looked like she was trying to imagine what kind of herself she must have been before she shook her head and turned to Miho. And then, what was the cause of your argument with Aya, Miho? When we graduated from middle school, Aya confessed to me, saying she wanted to be in a relationship with me, and I turned her down. At that moment, Ran felt like the only way she could express her shock adequately was if her eyes popped right out of their sockets. The hell? So you're not actually dating right now? Of course not. I literally saw you two making out that time in the kitchen. Indo was there too that time. Miho's face went pale white and her eyes widened. You and Tama both saw it? Well, we didn't actually see it, but it wasn't hard to guess from the way you reacted. I get angry every time this topic comes up. The more Aya acts like this, the worse we fight. Miho said bitingly as she gently clenched her hands into fists. Well, you can probably guess why I'm so surprised right now. So, why did you turn her down? I do have a good relationship with her. I've known her since elementary, and our relationship is very close. We've held hands before and even kissed each other. Aya seems to think we're basically already dating, but I don't agree. Okay, the more you talk, the more you're losing me. If this doesn't count as dating, what does? What is it? What is it normal for you to make out any random person off the street? Make out with any random person? Of course not. I do those things with Aya because I really do like her. But just like you said, before both sides confess to each other and make promises to each other, it doesn't count as proper dating. And I don't think the time is right. The stars are not right. Cthulhu will not approve of this relationship. So we can't be good together. Ran was getting quite tired of this question answer format. She hung on to Anne's arm and played idly with one of Anne's fingers as though she were trying to while away at the time. The time. Okay. So what does don't think the time is right mean? Aya has joined a rock and roll band. I think it's rock and roll at least. I'm not too sure. I don't know a lot about the other members, but she looks like she's serious about it and that she really wants to continue down this path. Miho showed a rare smile of vulnerability. It reminded Ran of herself. She had a special set of expressions like that too, reserved exclusively for discussing Anne, not to appear in any other circumstance. I want to support her dream and give everything I can to help her. The road Aya wants to take is a very hard one, so I have to be behind her to support her all the way. I know for a fact that I will spend the rest of my life's journey by her side. But we are both women and I have to support her musical journey, which means that I have to become capable of supporting a home for the both of us. Anne nodded silently. It seemed she agreed with Miho's thoughts. Oh, but it's not a burden to me, or rather the fact that I only need to shoulder such a tiny burden as this to be with the person I love is enough to make me deeply grateful already. Take is definitely going to grow up to become someone incredible. With her competence, surely she and Toyama will be able to live a wonderful life together. But I still don't get why you have to reject her right now. I kind of understand, Ran. If I were in the same situation as Miho, I'd probably choose rejection as well. What? Impossible. Miss Sakura couldn't possibly reject me. Take, hurry up and tell me why you're rejecting Toyama. I figured that Anne would share my opinion while you would agree with Aya's. If I accepted her confession, then we'd already be a couple, even without me needing to do anything, without even having started to work hard to make our shared future or her dreams come true. I'm afraid that this would weaken me and make me incapable of sustaining our lifestyle. It's just a high school romance, isn't it? It's not so bad as all that, right? What are you worried that it'll impact your grades? Ran thought he was being fairly ridiculous, but Miho's expression was serious. I do, in fact, think it's very important. I have to focus all my efforts in order to be able to achieve a societal position that can guarantee that Aya and I can live the way we want to live despite being in a same sex relationship. For this, I'm even willing to temporarily sever our relationship up until I have the power to back up the promises I want to make her and be together with her again. Yeah, I don't know, it's for a teenager, this is like excessively, I don't know, pedantic or I don't know what's the right word, but it's like, yeah, overthinking it. Then what the hell is your relationship right now? You're getting on a pretty well, aren't you? So you can't date, but you can be best friends with each other. What kind of logic is that? Ron squeezed Anne's hand, hoping to win support from her lover. I can understand, Miho. Any relationship between two people is a long journey to embark on. Sometimes sacrificing time spent together in the present to win a longer future together is the right thing to do. We can't let ourselves be attracted only to the beautiful things right in front of us. But I want us to be together right now. I'm so deeply in love that I couldn't bear to spend a second apart from you. You sound exactly like Aya. Ran spoke her next words rather unhappily. Well, then, that just means that's how much Toyama loves you too, and you love her as well, so just be together already. But no, I'm definitely going to speak up for Toyama's sake. I'm going back and telling her your thoughts. It's no good. I'll never accept it. That's exactly what I want, for her not to accept it, and then for you to apologize to her and then make up with her. Miss Sakura, please take Take back to the dormitory. Once I'm done chatting with Toyama, I'll bring her right back. But what if you bring her to me and we start fighting again? It's fine, both me and Miss Sakura will be there. After speaking, Ran let go of Anne's arms, draping her hands over Anne's shoulders. Also, don't worry, Miss Sakura, when I confessed to you in the past, you accepted instantly, so there's absolutely nothing that could come between us. She's so much like a creepoid. Like, that, part of me still thinks that maybe Ran has imagined the relationship, like maybe she's really just like a stalker and she's imagining the relationship, and still, since Sakura doesn't remember that she even knew and used to know Ran Ibuki, then she's forgotten everything, whatever feelings she had, whether it's love or hate or something in between. She's forgotten it. And Sakura nodded her head witlessly. It looked like she wanted to say once again that she and the person that Ran remembered weren't the same person. I'm sure I'll accept your confession then. But I would try to get closer to being that person. Uh, Ran hurriedly pushed open the music room's door. I was strumming some chords with a guitar pick. But when she saw Ran rush in, she held the guitar strings down with her hand and the sounds soon faded away. What's with the rush? Toyama, Take told me. Ran was just about to tell what Miho had said so that she and Aya could work together against Miho. She suddenly remembered, though, that Miho had said that Ran's reaction had been very similar to Aya's. Takei must have already spoken her mind to Toyama. I can't believe I didn't realize something so simple. In fact, that's probably the foundation on which they had an argument at all in the first place. Ran was for some time unable to say anything and stood there blankly with an awkward expression on her face. Aya, on the other hand, laughed as she shifted a bit and patted the empty spot next to her. I've written a new song recently, Ran-chan. Why don't you give it a listen? Sure. Ran sat next to her and noticed that she was holding a wooden guitar. Actually, I only got the inspiration for this song after I met you. How's that? Yeah, why? Is there something about me that inspires creativity? Aya shrugged. I don't know. That's why they call it inspiration, I guess. Aya set down the guitar pick, plucked the strings with her bare hands as the other hand fingered the chords. A soothing melody flowed from Aya's fingertips, and Ran whispered quiet praise for Aya's skillful hands, but alongside it came the familiar sensation of dizziness. This song is Toyama. I heard it before. It's Now we are getting the memories back quite in quick succession. Consequently, whatever. So, uh, yeah, sure. About Miho and Take and Ayama Toyama's memories. Everything before Ran began to twist and distort before finally fading out into infinite darkness. Infinite darkness. Miho, Take, and Aya Tomama met each other in elementary school and were inseparable up until they had their fight in middle school. They were each clearly aware that their preference was for others of the same gender and buried their feelings deep in their hearts. After their separation, Miho sealed away her feelings for Aya and concluded her time in high school with an excellent performance that guaranteed her full ride to Tokyo University School of Public Policy. So this is Take, I guess, because this is Take means bamboo, and I guess that's probably Toyama. In contrast, Aya attended her hometown's high school where she developed the habit of skipping classes. She spent more time staring at music sheets than she did at textbooks. But in contrast to her steadily declining grades, the size of the audience at each of her band's performances only increased. But whenever the furious music ceased, Aya's longing for Miho grew by the day in the lonely silence. Finally, the year that Miho was to graduate from college, I arrived at the doorstep of Tokyo University carrying her guitar and her luggage on her back. Though a face full of tears, she congratulated Miho on graduating. The two of them had been apart for 7 years, rediscovered their love for each other in an instant, and settled together in Tokyo. In 5 years after that, Miho took a job in finance, so boring. She rose through the ranks at an astonishing rate and fulfilled the promise that she'd made to the two of them to guarantee them a happy future together. Aya's band lifestyle, on the other hand, wasn't working out too well. She was stuck doing on and off late night gigs at local bars. Or filling in time slots whenever a more renowned band failed to show for a concert. The two of them shared a stable and happy life together until a variable appeared one day to change their lives. But it wasn't a change for the worse. Much to the contrary, it actually brought even greater happiness into their lives. Miho's uncle had a daughter who suffered from serious schizophrenia. Miho very rarely saw her cousin, who was 3 years older than her. Miho only ever got the chance to speak to her once at a family gathering. While Miho was in high school, her cousin ran away from home and was never heard from again. All that Miho remembered of her was her exaggerated expressions and the way she'd once rubbed Miho's hair as she told Miho, "You're a real goody two-shoes," with a laugh. And then Miho had almost completely forgotten those memories as well. She received a text from her cousin requesting a meeting. Miho and Aya, who'd been living together for many years at that point, arrived together at the destination point. They met Miho's cousin as well as a little girl standing next to her, incessantly wiping tears off of her own face. In conversation, Miho's cousin explained to her that she'd met a rich entrepreneur from abroad, that the two of them had fallen in love and decided to elope. But after Miho's cousin had given birth to a child, it turned out that her wildly alternating moods and the fact that she cared for little more than hedonistic indulgence had led her to start thinking that perhaps she could give the child to someone else for adoption. She knew that Miho's lifestyle was materially secure and Miho had no intentions of getting married. She hoped that Miho could adopt her daughter. Miho quite reasonably exploded in fury on the spot, fiercely berating her cousin for not being willing to take the responsibility for a child she gave birth to herself. But Miho's cousin wasn't particularly bothered by Miho's anger. She said that she knew that Miho was a very good person and that the more she yelled, the more proof it was that she'd take good care of Miho's niece. And so Miho's cousin said that they could name the child under their family names as well. Miho insisted on retaining her cousin's family name, hoping that this way Miho's niece could retain some semblance of a familial connection with her biological mother. And so Miho took her cousin's family name, last character of her niece's original name, and nicknamed the child Ran Ibuki. So Miho is like our adopted mom. This is getting weird. Rani Boogie had unfortunately inherited her mother's schizophrenia, and being thrown away to a foreign nation by her mother only added to her discomfort. Because of that, Ran spent almost every day alternating between mania and depression. With patience unimaginable to most, the two of them slowly taught her Japanese, helped her get treatment for her illness, and oversaw her regimen of medications, and never, not even once, expressed disgust at her. or any sign of wanting to abandon her. Unlike Miho, who was busy with work much of the time, Aya mostly stayed at home, and thus had more opportunities to interact with Ran. Aya would frequently play music for Ran and even write songs for her specifically. Soon, Ran was able to live amicably with her two new family members, and she held the same love for them as they did for her, even if she still had trouble communicating with strangers. After coming home from school, she always insisted on hugging either Aya or Miho while crying. The two of them engaged with the school multiple several times to try improve Ran's situation, but to little effect. Ultimately, under the care, Ran's condition had improved by the time she entered high school. Even though her condition would worsen again later, by the time that happened, she would already have the one person who would forever be closest to her heart by her side. Mihotake and Aya Toyama's relationship inspired a desire for the same within Ran. She was convinced that she herself could surely find both inspiration and meaning of life from a similarly intimate relationship as well. And of course, who else could that relationship be with but Ann Sakura? So updated profiles of both Toyama and Takei. As Aya's performance was still ongoing, the song she was playing was the exact one she'd composed for Ran back then. So wait, I just want to check like whose memories we don't have. Yoru, no, we don't. And well, Sakura. Well, I guess there's still some memories of Sakura we don't, but yeah, we almost have everybody suddenly. Immersed in her performance, she didn't notice that Ran next to her had covered her face with her hands and was quietly crying. I can't believe that I forgot everything Miho and Aya did for me. Ran's most crucial periods of development as a person were accompanied by the two of them. They were much closer to her than her birth mother was. I can't believe that even the two of them had times when they argued. I've never seen the two of them fight at all. Their relationship was what showed me that two people who built a close bond could face any trouble head on, so long as they were together. That's why I wanted to build a closer relationship with Miss Sakura in the first place. I mean, I guess that's the reason why she's a lesbian as well, or something. You know, she learned the model from them. That was where I got the courage to confess to Miss Sakura as well from Miho. Nodding to the beat and tapping her feet to the rhythm, Aya started humming the song's refrain so familiar to Ran. Ran, in sync with her beat, also began singing along with a trembling voice. It's just like in my memories, man. Let's leave it at that for now. Not bad, Ran-chan. You were able to hum along after just listening it for a short while. Aya always called me like that back in the day as well. I thought that it was a strange form of address, but now it suddenly seems so much more endearing. You've come to me to talk about the affair with Miho, right, Ran-chan? Ran surreptitiously rubbed her nose and sniffed a few times, trying to prevent Aya from noticing that she'd cried. Right, what are your plans, Toyama? Take's told you how she feels, hasn't she? Aya blinked a bit and then set her guitar down on her lap. Miho told you? Yeah, she told me and Miss Sakura. Aya grimaced and stretched luxuriously, swinging her legs around a bit and tapping the tips of her toes together. I remember that Miho used to tell Aya off for doing that all the time. If she told both you and Anne, then she must be ready to put this state of affairs to an end. I'll listen to her if she says we oughtn't date, but then we won't date. Yeah, what? I feel like she's talking absolutely nonsense. What the hell does she mean she can't date you? Dating doesn't change a damn thing. Oh, I know, but Miho can be charmingly innocent sometimes. She's really credulous about certain things and she needs a sense of rituality and formality in her life. But I have to support her. Is the kind of environment she needs to do what she wants to do, then I listen to her. Aya displayed a kind of maturity consistent with the memories Ran had of her. It was maturity that disguised itself under layers of merriness and frivolity. But that way you're not going to be able to date Take anymore. Well, there's nothing to do about that, right? It's only been a few days and I'm already going insane not being able to talk to her. So could you imagine if we kept having this argument on end for years? Hehe. Aya stood up and tucked her guitar away into its bag. Let's go, I'll make up with Miho. Alright, but Toyama, I don't think you need to worry. I think you two will have a very smooth future together waiting ahead of you. All you need to do is bear it for a bit. Aya smiled. Oh, of course. After Aya returned to the dorms, as soon as Aya saw Miho, she bounced over to take a hold of her hands, said a few words to her. Maybe I'll save again, saving again. Ran and Anne stood some distance away from them, so as not to disturb them. So, it looks like they've made up with each other. I think so. I don't really feel like I did anything. I just sort of listened to them talk about it and then the situation resolved itself. Miho Onesan and Aya don't need me to fuss over them. They wouldn't let go of each other even if the planet were to explode right now, I figure. Really? I feel like you were quite helpful. I'm terrible at this kind of interpersonal stuff. This time it was just that they never even wanted to break up in the first place. Besides, compared to me, you're far more skilled at resolving these situations, Miss Sakura. You could resolve the whole world's problems, that's how I feel. Is the Miss Sakura you're talking about still a member of the human species like me? Ran laughed. Oh, you've got such a sense of humor, Miss Sakura. But since the situation's been resolved, next up, it's time to analyze the case. That's definitely something I'm half decent with. Finally, we're gonna solve the murders. Do you have any ideas? Let's go to the observation deck. I want to do a bit of recall, and having you with me, Miss Sakura, will make me a bit more secure. I understand. Let's go then. Ran took out her notebook and flipped through it, searching for a blank page. Anne stared at the flipping pages, seemingly enthralled. She reached out and stopped Ran's page flipping. What is it, Miss Sakura? Anne's fingers slid up and down the notebook's page, and it took her a long time before she answered. The texture feels so marvelous. It feels like I want to just keep on caressing it forever. You've gotten a bit addicted to touching it too, haven't you, Miss Sakura? I felt the same way the first time I touched the notebook. Ran thought for a moment and ultimately decided not to divulge the fact that she thought that the notebook's pages felt like Anne Sakura's skin. Well, I'll stop distracting you. Let's start the recall. Okay, after this, if you want to do any more caressing, Miss Sakura, feel free to at any time. Ran flipped to an empty page, pressed her hand to it, and let her blood seep through her fingers. Doesn't it hurt, Ran? It's fine, it doesn't leave a wound. The blood comes right out through osmosis, bypassing the skin and the blood vessels. How incredible. Anne placed her hand on the notebook as well. Ran's blood touched the tips of her fingers, but was soon sucked back into the notebook. I don't know how the notebook works either, it's very mysterious. Eventually, the blood was all absorbed, and Ran pulled her hands back, and she looked at Anne with a piteous expression. Miss Sakura, under the state of recall, I will fall unconscious and my body will enter a state of helplessness. So, can I use your thigh as a pillow for that duration? How sneaky. Anne nodded, shuffling until her back was against the wall. Then she opened her arms. Go ahead. Ran grinned, laid herself down on Anne's thighs, then hugged Anne's waist happily. Miss Sakura smells so good and her thigh is so soft. Ran pulled her legs and hugged Anne tightly, even pressing her face to Anne's stomach. Miss Sakura's waist is just like before, slender but ample, and so comfortable to hug. Miss Sakura, touch me. Anne laid her hand on Ran's head, caressed her over and over. What's the matter? I thought you were going to recall, weren't you? You seem to be entirely preoccupied with fondling me. Oh, yes. Ran closed her eyes, threw her consciousness into the torrent of the recall. Total recall, man. Alright, let's begin the recall. Let's go to the special recalls first. After showering and meeting with Yaruna, who was still preparing food, there's no doubt that Koizumi was killed in the dorms. Deep in the night, Ran decided to remain near the scene of the crime during this time, hoping to be able to find some valuable clues. Did we do this already? Let's just check. I think maybe we did it already with the hanging crime. But can we do something about the drowning thingy? Let's see. Is there? Yeah, I think we've done it. Let's see if there's something new or something. Yeah, she's cooking. Yeah, and Aya is there. Yes. So, yeah, we are helping her wash vegetables. Yeah, we've done this before. And yeah, there's glove. Yeah, because there were only 2 pairs of gloves, but yeah, Take, she couldn't get the gloves. So maybe, it has something to do because what's her name? Koizumi's hands were, really clean and well kept. So maybe that's somehow related to the case. So they went to their own rooms. Asakura left her room, headed down the stairs. Yeah. Yeah, we've seen this because Asakura, she hadn't mentioned before that she went downstairs, like after they were discussing what they did before the murder and stuff. Yeah, she's going for a breather. So is this... No, she's not killed yet at this point, of course. Yeah, this wasn't... And the other one was... After finding Koizumi's corpse, visit to the tool room. Okay, let's do it, just to have a look if there's something new or relevant here. originally wanted to find Asakura and borrow the tool room key to see if there were any clues. Who would have thought she'd straight up kick the bucket after that? Let's try it before she croaks. So yeah, this is a new comment at least. Or maybe this whole recall is new. I don't remember so well. Ran went to the morgue and told Asakura what she was thinking. Asakura nodded and agreed that the two of them headed to the dorms together. So, Ibuki, what do you think about this case? Is it homicide or a suicide? I'm not sure, but if Koizumi didn't ask to borrow your key, then the chances of it being a homicide are higher. Otherwise, wouldn't it be weird to have to steal your key from you just to commit suicide? I would recommend that you not try to guess at the feelings of a suicidal person. Well, if nothing else, Asakura is an appropriate person to hear that from. So are you still suicidal then? You were pretty pissed last time Indo brought you back from the dead, weren't you? Do you know, at least for now I still wanna live. Asakura reached out and turned the handle, opening the dormitory's front door. But who knows, maybe I'll decide to give suicide a shot again later. Try not to save me if such a time comes. If it weren't for the pH test, I'd probably be wondering whether Asakura drowned herself intentionally right now. Yeah, I guess the pH test proves that she didn't kill herself. She didn't Epstein herself, or wait, no, she was Epstein, whatever. The two of them entered the dorms. They saw the scene of Koizumi's suicide before them. Even though the corpse had already been carried away, there were still all kinds of traces left on the floor, and waved at the two of them. Run, Makoto, were there any other clues on the corpse? Nothing. Koizumi's only wounds were those on her neck. We are getting ready to go grab the key to the tool room so we can check it out. After Ran finished speaking, she followed Asakura up the stairs. They happened to run into Sai going down the stairs on the way. You two came back this quickly? I guess that makes sense. I took a look at the corpse on the way as well. It doesn't look like there were any more clues left on it. That's right, so we came to check out the tool room. The rope might have been taken from there. Sai nodded and stepped aside. The two of them quickly climbed upstairs and entered Asakura and Tama's shared room. Asakura pulled open the drawer and took out the key. For some reason, she didn't immediately turn and head to the tool shed, but rather stayed in the same place and held the key for a bit. What is it? Nothing, let's go. Holding the key in her hand, Asakura left the room with Ran and headed to the tool room. Unfortunately, after the two of them unlocked the tool storage room, they found nothing worth mentioning. All they were able to confirm that the rope used to hang Koizumi was the same kind as the rope in the storage room. Interesting. I've acquired an unexpected clue. Alright, let's end the recall here. Okay, let's see if there's some things we haven't done. Wait. Or no, is this point? Okay, we've done this already, yeah, when investigating the first murder already. Okay, well, I guess that's good. Saving time. Let's check through all of these since I cannot remember which ones I've done completely and which ones I haven't. Yeah, this is the shower, so I can decide if I go shower with Toyama or Take. Yes. Okay, this has been done as well. Koizumi gives Ran a call. Okay, I've done this also as a recall point because she wants to meet. Yeah, that's before she was killed, of course. Okay, this, I guess I can try the other one. So, my head hurts and I need rest. Okay. I don't know why my head hurts so much. Good. Ran lowered her hand from Thomas' shoulder for fear that Ran would hurt her. It must be that I almost managed to recover my memories regarding Indo, but Miss Sakura, and knelt on the ground and held Ran's hand tight. I'm still just slightly short of the mark. If I only understood Indo just a bit better, then maybe I could remember it. My head didn't hurt nearly as this much with either Koizumi Sensei or Asakura. So why is that this time? Ran, I'll bring you back to the dorms to rest. But the corpse. Let me and the others handle it. You look terrible right now. And helped Ran stand up. The two leaned on each other as they headed towards dorms. Okay, what was the point? Like, maybe there is some point, but I have hard time seeing it. Like, why would you reject the memories? Unless maybe there's like multiple endings and you get a more interesting ending by rejecting the memories. So just listen to her performance. Ran surreptitiously rubbed her nose, sniffed a few times, trying to prevent Aya from noticing that she'd cried. Right, what are your plans, Toyama? Toge told you how she feels, hasn't she? Yeah, I think we had this conversation just very recently. Yeah, so she's convincing her to go make up. Okay, so I guess yeah, that was that. Yeah, this was just that one. So yeah, nothing there. Okay, how about investigative recall? Investigating her body. I think I've redone this already. Oh wait, since we know like about the gloves, maybe it's if we look at her hands again or something. I don't know. Let's check the notes. Maybe there's something we can now know more about the rope. Let's check the hand then. Yeah, manicured immaculately. Yeah, I think I also did this. Well, let's try fingers are too clean again. Yeah, no abrasions or anything. Okay. Okay. How about exploration recall? Is there? Yeah, there's some stuff we can actually do, I guess. No, this is investigated. Okay, fine, and let's check the last one still, just to make sure. This one we haven't. Okay, so there was one we hadn't done. I went back to look I went to go look for Indo that day. I wonder what happened in the dorms. Ran headed downstairs and swerved into the dining room. Tama Indo wasn't around anymore. In her place was Sai Yoruno. And look, my romantic rival. Oi, Toyama. Aya feigned intimidation and ducked behind Anne Sakura. You're fighting this badly and you still don't want to talk about the reason. Oh, if you're still asking, that means that Miho didn't tell you while you were upstairs either, right? Then I'm not telling either. Even though she hasn't told me yet, she agreed to talk about it with me afterwards. So if Take is willing to make up with you, are you willing to cooperate as well? Aya splayed her legs, supporting herself with her arms pushing down on a nearby chair and started waving her body around. Well, I can't answer either, since you haven't actually gotten anywhere yet. Anyways, as soon as Miho decides to agree with me, we can immediately make up. That's my stance. That's been my stance since the beginning. Sure, whatever. We'll see what Take has to say about it when we get there, I guess. You sure are busy, Bookie. Not only do you have to think your way through the case, you also have handled all these interpersonal relationships too now. You also have handled, I guess. Don't just mock me from the sidelines. You try coming up with ways to fix this too, Yoruna. Sai shrugged. Well, I guess I'll put some thought into what these two troublemakers would like to eat then. Okay, so that's wasn't much. I guess end recall then. Ran pulled free from the recall and immediately grabbed onto Anne's waist, mewling in discomfort. Ran, what's wrong? Nothing, this always happens after a recall. Ugh. Ran shivered all over and curled up into a ball, pulling Anne's jacket tight against her body. Anne was unsure what to do. She didn't even know if she should touch Ran or not at a time like this. Ran, do you want me to give you a kiss? All Anne could think of was the action that Ran had repeatedly requested of her before. Really? Yes, Miss Sakura. Ran didn't even have the energy left in her to be excited. All she could do was express a request as loudly as she could. Anne bent down, picked Ran's face by the chin, and kissed her on the cheek. Oh, just a cheek. Just a cheek. But getting a kiss from Miss Sakura really did fix everything. Ran wistfully sat up straight before immediately taking Anne's hand. Just like before, then, let's sort out the questions before we start reasoning. But this time there's two cases. Do we want to handle them separately? No need. What we want is to combine the clues from both cases. Only like that will we be able to find the culprit. After all, we need to recount both of the murders to revive all the dead anyways. Let's begin then. Okay, sure. Why were Koizumi's hands so clean? Because she used handy clean, only 99.55 per bottle. This is a bit strange question. Yes, but it's quite important. Koizumi's cause of death is very clear because she only had strangulation marks on her neck without any external injuries. If she killed herself, she'd surely have subconsciously used her hands to clasp the rope, resulting in rope detritus being left under her fingernails. No matter how strong one's determination to commit suicide is, nobody can defy instinct. Every person who chooses suicide via hanging always leaves behind a corpse whose fingernails are distinctly marked. Not to mention, it's rather unlikely that Koizumi had the resolve to kill herself in the first place. I see, even if we assume it was homicide, it doesn't explain why her fingers were so clean. There must be another clue in there. Yes, given that the killer used the rope to strangle Koizumi, then so long as Koizumi was lucid, she surely would have grabbed at either the rope or the culprit's hands. But not only is there nothing of significance left on the Koizumi's fingernails, I haven't seen any of our classmates with scratch marks either. We should think about this one for a while. Perhaps it will point us into the culprit. Uh, okay, who stole the keys to the tool storage room? That's a pointless question since it might as well be the same as asking who the culprit is. Of course, we need to figure out who the culprit is, but not from the starting point of the key. And that's right, we have far too few clues about the key. Let's scratch this one off, okay? Was Koizumi the killer's target? Stay on target. Even though two victims appeared this time, we can't simply conclude that the second victim was the true target of the killer. Right, the killer could have killed Asakura to prevent her from finding the clue, some key clue. Then whether or not Koizumi was the killer's target could help us decide the killer's future actions. If Koizumi was the primary target, then we'll have to prioritize Asakura's case. Since if the killer was forced to kill Asakura, there's a great possibility that she may have left a flaw there. Just going through the statements again. Okay. Well, we can try thinking on this some more, yeah? Why did Asakura go to the pool? And no matter how you look at it, Asakura doesn't look like the type to go swimming, and the pH value of the fluid in her body confirms for us that she did in fact drown in the pool, rather than being drowned elsewhere and moved here. Yep, questions about the location of the crime scene are always important. Let's note this one down. This is it? Yeah, is this everything? Where was the rope used to hang Koizumi hidden? Well, this doesn't seem like a relevant question, but let's see, scratch it off the list first. There's not much point to this question. After the culprit acquired the rope, she would have hidden it somewhere on the first floor, ready for her to use. There's a lot of places to hide a rope on the first floor, and anybody could have had a chance to hide it. No need to consider this question further, yeah. Okay, why move Asakura's corpse? It looks strange at first, but because we tested the pH value, the question's easily resolved. That's right, the killer wanted to obscure the time of death by moving the corpse. After all, between the death and the body discovery, there were 2 whole meals where everyone was present. Right, but how could everybody be present if she was dead, or like everybody else was there? If we decided to go search for Asakura as soon as we found out she was missing at lunch, we'd have figured out her true time of death instantly. Right, so the killer wanted to obscure the time of death by moving Asakura's corpse then. Okay, let's begin the reasoning. Alright, that's the questions. Let's begin deduction. Feels like the clues are all over the place this time. No idea what the results for our reasoning will be. That's okay, no matter what results we come up with, we'll gain something from it. If we don't like the answer, we can go back to looking for more clues. Sure, let's begin then. First off, why were Koizumi's hands so clean? Like, I think this makes more sense. Koizumi was strung up only after she fainted. But because they were like the gloves in the kitchen, and it's sort of like, perhaps this is like, just logically I would say it's this, but like meta gaming wise, I would say it's this. And I still trust my metagaming senses more than my murder investigation logic or whatever. During recall, I helped Yoruna wash some vegetables after I finished showering, and she gave me a pair of gloves to do so with. If Koizumi were wearing those gloves, their thickness would have been enough to guarantee that no traces would have been left on her fingers while she was struggling. Indeed, after Koizumi put on those gloves, even if she struggled, the only signs would have been left on the surface of the gloves, which could be restored to new with a simple wash. Well, not necessarily, because she said that Koizumi's fingernails were a bit long. So if she was wearing those gloves and thrashing about, there might be some, marks from her fingernails, or even like holes or something. Yes, more importantly, in the normal timeline, Asakura went down the stairs without encountering Koizumi at the time. It could very well be that she noticed the gloves. That Yoruna used while washing the vegetables, and combined that with the fact that Koizumi's hands were unblemished to deduce who the culprit was. Then why did she go to the pool to get killed? And she might even have noticed something about the key to the tool storage room that led the culprit to murder her. So going back to Koizumi, she might have put on some gloves because she wanted to help Yoruna prepare food ingredients for the next day. And then the culprit decided to attack her at some point in a time after this. So wait, Koizumi just put on the gloves because she was going to the kitchen and got attacked. And then the killer removed the gloves after she was dead. Is that it? Was Koizumi the target of the culprit? Because we got the card. I think, when we drew the victim card, we drew Asakura, I think. So that's unlikely that Asakura was the target. So wait. We cannot choose Koizumi as the target of the culprit. Because either Koizumi was chosen randomly according to the game, or it was Asakura, or maybe this one. Culprit has yet to kill the true target. I don't know how we would figure it out, but let's try. That one we can't really start to guess about if it were the case, and it doesn't really have much bearing on the current deductions anyways. Yeah. Then why give me the option? Why can't I just say that I think Koizumi is the target? Maybe she's not, but... okay, how about Asakura is the target? If that were the case, the culprit wouldn't have reason to kill Koizumi. Maybe there's some maybe she had seen something, but that she could, like, maybe the killer had been preparing for the murder of Asakura, and Koizumi had seen something that she didn't know yet, that um, at the time she couldn't connect it to a murder plan, but afterwards, if she'd, that the death, maybe she would have connected it as a, obviously it was this guy. So, I think there are some leaps in logic here sometimes. Okay, the dorms are a relatively enclosed and small space. In such an environment, committing a meaningless murder would only raise the number of clues. Well, this kind of thing happens a lot in detective novels, doesn't it? Even in a closed environment, the killer still keeps on murdering one after the other. Do you enjoy reading detective novels, Miss Sakura? Not particularly. I've read a few after I arrived here, mostly for educational purposes. You used to love reading them. In fact, you were the one who influenced me to start reading detective novels myself. Yeah, personally, like me, I haven't read many detective novels. I do like detective stuff, but it's like not that much. But Glenn Cook's was that Garrett PI series. I like that. Anyway, speaking of which, what has there ever been a pleasure killer in school before, the kind that's not goal oriented, just wants to kill everyone for the fun of it? Not at the moment, and I doubt in the future either. After all, this is just part of the curriculum. There's no reason anybody would do something like that. Well, irrationality is part of a pleasure serial murderer's modus operandi, but I agree that it's not likely someone like that could show up in the school either. In conclusion, Asakura being the killer's target seems implausible. Was Koizumi the... So, okay, she was... I guess this implies that they chose Koizumi because she just happened to walk at the right time, at the right place. Right, Koizumi only told you about taking a shower just before she went to take it, Miss Sakura. The rest of them couldn't have possibly known that Koizumi would go to shower by herself. So the culprit must have planned to kill the last straggler in the dorms and chose Koizumi by luck. Which is to say, if Hinata had taken her shower together with someone, then the culprit might have settled on killing Makoto or perhaps Sai instead. That's right, but we both understand now, don't we, Miss Sakura? Yes. And finally, why would Asakura go to the pool? Well, if that's the question, after reasoning the two previous questions out, the answer seems pretty self-evident, doesn't it? Does it? There are still some issues. Asakura should have known who the culprit was by the time she went to meet the culprit at the pool, or perhaps the culprit actively invited Asakura to the pool. Or, maybe Asakura killed Koizumi and then somebody else killed Asakura. I don't know, like, not sure how Ran has figured this thing out, unless, like, she's paying attention where everybody was at each time, because personally I can't. It's difficult to calculate all that in my mind, to remember where everybody was at what exact time. If it was the former, then it's quite strange Asakura could have simply pointed the culprit out in front of us all, after all, and if she wasn't certain by that point, it'd still have been too dangerous of her to simply meet the suspect alone. Yeah, so the culprit invited, but isn't that sus if she's being invited to the pool? If it was the latter, I don't know why Asakura would have agreed to the culprit's invitation. Yeah, exactly. With all the clues she had, but she's still not able to deduce the identity of the culprit. I understand what you're thinking. The answers to the previous questions point the culprit's identity to her, but Makoto's death is just too strange. But if we can recite the murder process correctly, that plus the clues of the two cases is probably enough to pin down the culprit. Whether that's enough to revive Asakura, though, I'll just try to explain the case with the assumption that Asakura actively chose to meet the culprit at the pool. Based on the timeline, this possibility seems more likely. Ran, if I'm wrong, then I'll just start from over from the top. You'll accompany me for it, won't you, Miss Sakura? Yes, of course. Ran stood up and stretched. Let's head downstairs, confront her then, Miss Sakura. Um, and noted that two of them left the observation deck. As Ran walked, she thought about turning to say something to Anne. New recall point. Oh. Some kind of sound. Yeah, okay, I only need 1 point, so sure, I'm gonna use it. But yeah, it had been a while since we got any skill check, so like, challenges. There seems to be some kind of sound. Ron suddenly stopped, turning towards the door that led to the residential area of the dormitory. Maybe the suspect that Ron has in mind is dead. What is it? I think I heard some sort of noise coming from Toyama's room. She's always making some sound or another in there, isn't she? No, it sounded like someone ran in. I'm going to check it out. Ran quickly walked to Aya's door and turned the handle to open the door, but she immediately felt that there was someone on the other side of the door pushing hard against it and refusing to let it open. What's going on, Toyama? Run! Aya, what's happening? Miss Sakura, give me a hand and help me push the door open. Spurred by Ran's words, Anne ran to the door. As the two of them pushed together, the crevice between the door and the frame trembled, and the door opened bit by bit. The lock on the door began to clank and jangle. The person inside the room was trying to set the lock. Not good. They're about to lock the door. Let me handle it. Anne's voice was calm as she shoved her fingers right in the crevice of the door. Miss Sakura, that's very dangerous. Anne was worried that Anne's fingers would get crushed and tried to pull her hand out, but suddenly the door room opened easily. But like, hey, if you get your I just have to intercheck. Like, let's say like you got into an accident and you lost an arm or something. It's like, yeah, it's probably gonna suck if you only have one arm, but what if somebody murders you after that, and when you resurrect, do you get the arm back or is it still lost? Because if it's not related to the murder, how does it work? She and Anne almost fell to the floor because the door opened, but managed to stay standing by holding onto the door frame. Huh? Ran looked up and saw Aya lying on the ground with a knife-wielding Sai straddling her. Can't believe I've been caught red-handed. You sure are devious, Sakura. Anne nodded, revealing a smile. I knew you'd let go of the door so that my fingers wouldn't get crushed. Ah. Hey, excuse me. What? You were worried about hurting Anne, but not about stabbing me to death? Yeah, exactly. Like, I had similar logic because it's like a it's not a big deal to murder somebody in this place, but like, if you injure them, it's different. They won't just heal from it perfectly. Or, I guess they have to heal normally if it's possible. Aya got up and lightly punched Sai a few times. She didn't look mad, but she was sweating. She'd probably received quite the scare just now. Seriously, you scared me half to death, Miss Sakura. Sai reached out and helped run up, and she and gave her a pat on the shoulder. Mm. All right, I guess you probably figured out I'm the culprit. If you still haven't figured out, then I gotta say it's a real bummer if you caught me out of sheer dumb luck. I wonder if we failed the investigation role, like then she just dies and we find out about later. Like how long would it take? Well, I guess we figured, like, Ran figured out she was the killer already. But okay, before we get to the revelations, because yeah, I was sus of her because she said that she saw the Koizumi going to the showers, but maybe she never did go to the shower. But like, I don't get it. Like, why would she do the pool cleaning? So if she drowned Asakura, and after that, well, I guess maybe she was cleaning the pool because there was still some, traces, uh, traces of, some her fluids or blood or something in the pool. But then why would she invite Ran, our resident detective, to the pool to, possibly find some evidence or something? Or no, maybe she was destroying evidence with the pH, like, by putting the disinfectant into the pool, but it turned out to be the best evidence because it, proved that the victim was killed before the cleaning fluid was put into the pool. I don't know, it's sort of weird. Relax with your half baked skills, I've long since figured it out. Come on, let's go downstairs and I'll explain how you did it. I sort of like it, like, aha, I know. It's like, they're just playing a board game, basically, a board game of murder. Oh man, that scared the crap out of me. So that's what it feels like to get pinned down by someone. Ah ha ha ha. Sai, who'd been caught in the act, made no attempt to plead her own innocence. She and the others came to the dining room together, waiting for Ran to explain her reasoning. Yeah, why your eyes so puffy and red, Miho? Did you cry because you were sad I got hurt? You're so annoying. Come on, come here. It's okay, don't cry. Aya tried to hug Miho, but Miho pushed Aya away by the face, preventing her from coming any closer to Miho. I'd already known that you all didn't take this whole murdering business seriously at all, but you're seriously taking the carefree apathy one step above and beyond, Toyama. Miho and Aya have always been like this since high school, huh? Compared to their future selves, they really haven't changed a bit. Hey, I'm just in a good mood, okay? Try not to take it too far, or else Take is going to get into an argument with you again later. So I carried over a pot of. Sai carried over a pot of tea over. Isn't there one over too much? Set it down on the dinner table and started pouring tea for everyone. Oh, look, and you've even made tea too. Oh, someone sure is relaxed. Well, maybe she's poisoned the tea. Your process of explaining the murder is always pretty fun. Even comes with drawings to look at. So let's just treat it as a story and enjoy it while sipping tea together. Oh, yeah? There's two of us who won't be able to hear the story though. Can't be helped. After all, the two of them were acting along. Hmm? So was Aya the target? all along to distract her. I don't know. Yoruna sure is being rambunctious this afternoon. Whatever, let's get started then. This case wasn't that complicated, so we can finish retelling it pretty quickly. Sai pushed a cup of tea towards Ran. I'm very sorry about boring you then. Sai didn't sound she was making a joke. Ran wasn't sure how to respond. What's that mean? Nothing, you go on. Okay then, time to begin retelling the case. So firstly, on the night before we found the corpse, Asakura and Indo entered the bathroom first. Oh yeah, that's because then we went after Indo because we noticed how everything was clean because she had cleaned up. Yoruna used this time to enter Asakura and Indo's room and acquire the key to the tool storage room. Afterwards, Yoruna headed to the tool room and got the rope. She hid the rope in the kitchen and put the key back in Asakura and Indo's room. Then she prepared foodstuffs in the kitchen, waiting for an opportunity. During the process of washing the groceries, Asakura and Indo finished showering and appeared. After that, it was me and Toyama. We spoke a few words with Yoruna before leaving the kitchen. Oh yeah, I can see the kanji. Yeah, this is Yoru, means night or evening. And wait, I think this is ebook is E, and then this is Toyama, right? To, I guess. Yeah, this is, wait, Inu, what were her names? Ido, whatever. Then Asakura went downstairs by herself, passing by the kitchen. Wait, how did you know that Asakura went downstairs? Did she ever bring it up to you? Indeed, Asakura intentionally concealed this fact. She'd already noticed some clues back then. If it wasn't for the recall, I would have missed it. I happened to run into her yesterday when I left the dorms to go find Miss Sakura. Right, Indo. When I asked Asakura, she said she wanted to go for a walk. That's right, Asakura-san said she said the same thing to me as well. When you saw Asakura, you didn't go for her directly since you still hadn't seen Koizumi and Miss Sakura going downstairs to shower. Just in case you decided to keep observing for a while. After Asakura returned to her room, Miss Sakura went downstairs to shower. Koizumi arrived at the very end. And we already know that one to die that night was Koizumi. Also, she was wearing a sleeping gown, which shows that you must have called to Koizumi after she finished washing up. You asked her to help you wash the groceries and suggested she put on some gloves. Koizumi, of course, agreed. So that's what happened. No wonder Hinata's hands were so clean. I was very concerned about that fact, but I couldn't find any clues. Because you were more concerned about me at the time. Please stop talking. Okay, stop interrupting me, you two. The way these two bicker and play around is really making me nostalgic. After putting on the gloves, Yoruna got out the rope which she'd hidden in the kitchen. Yoruna used the rope to strangle Koizumi unconscious and also tied a knot around Koizumi's neck. Then she placed Koizumi under the railings, tossed the long end of the rope to the second floor, and went upstairs to pull the rope up until Koizumi was strung up at an appropriate height. After that, Yoruna tied the rope to the railing, cut off the excess length, placed a hair from the dining room on the floor there, and took off Koizumi's gloves, disguising it as a suicide. You know, that night Sai was breathing heavily after she returned to the room. You have no idea how hard it is to carry an unconscious body. But why did you want Koizumi to put on the gloves anyways? It's a bit weird. Well, it's as you said, I didn't want any signs of a struggle to remain on her hands. I figured that someone who committed suicide wouldn't struggle. And also, I really did want her help with the food prep. Like, I was worried she'd prick her fingers on the fish spines while prepping the fish. Okay, sure. I really have overestimated how seriously they take these things. They really don't go out of their way to use low-risk methodologies at all, do they? So you're saying that Koizumi-san was selected randomly, she wasn't the true target. That's right. In fact, I don't think Asakura was the target. See, that's what I said in the beginning when we chose the options. That was my first choice, that, you know, neither was the real target. I think it was maybe Toyama. Aya, because the one she was just trying to kill. Then that means, well, obviously that means I was the target, right? Then, actually, it wasn't you either. My target was Take. Okay. Why did you try and kill me then? Dying hurts a lot, you know. Maybe I did it just to see your infuriated reaction after the fact. Okay, next up, let me explain Asakura's case. But yeah, what if she just, you know, kept on killing and nobody could stop her or figure out who it is? Like, what if there was only one left? Would there be a way to resurrect the others at all? Or, you know... It was previously mentioned that she went downstairs overnight. It was possible she noticed that Yoruna was wearing gloves while washing the vegetables, and combined that with the cleanness of Koizumi's fingers to notice an issue. Then she noticed something wrong about the placement of the key in her room. Or perhaps she didn't and just relied on the fact that there was a rope in the tool storage room, as well as the issue with the gloves, to immediately conclude that Yoruna was the culprit. Afterwards, she went to the pool to confront Yoruna. Yeah, well, why would you go to the pool to confront suspected killer? Asakura directly declared that Yoruna had killed Koizumi. Yoruna, of course, tried to object, but Asakura was in control of several pieces of evidence to prevent the truth from being exposed. Yoruna decided to kill her and drowned her in the pool. Afterwards, she carried the body out and hid it somewhere, then called me to clean the pool, letting me create an alibi for her so that the time of the murder would be concealed when we discovered Asakura's corpse. But I used the pH test paper to test the fluids left in Asakura's trachea and esophagus, and found that the pH values were as high as 9, far above the standard for a normal person and identical to the pH value of the pool before it was adjusted. Clearly she was killed before Yoruna and I disinfected the pool. Acidity testing, huh? And here I figured that pH testing wouldn't work on fluids from within a human body. Yoruna actually didn't push back on my theories this time. I was sure she'd say something along the lines of Asakura not having a reason to go to the pool, that she could have simply revealed the results of her deduction to the others directly. Yeah, exactly. Or maybe she wanted to help with the murders, like, Asakura. I guess, like in a very, normal situation, it would be so stupid to go, confront the killer uh, at at some suspicious location like that, because you would get killed. But of course here they might be sympathetic, like, yeah, let's make it fun, let's get myself killed too, like, so whatever, I'm gonna resurrect anyways. So maybe that's it. And in fact, I'm mostly force fitting this whole Asakura and Yoruna face off at the pool scenario. If I were forced to explain what the hell exactly they said during their face-off, I couldn't give an answer either. It's a bit odd. Then finally, let's sum it up. Because of the previous deductions, you were the one who killed Koizumi. Nobody else had any reason to kill Asakura, and because Koizumi was randomly chosen victim, you have no accomplices either. So you were the only person who could have killed Asakura. And there's even less to say about Toyama. We caught you red-handed there. What are these, like, Ouroboros and the hanged bird? Are they like references to the victims or something? Like to their names, something like that? I don't really get it. Well, yeah, this is clearly a reference. She tried to stab Aya because she has the star on her choker. So yeah, okay, yeah, he's hanged and this, yeah, ice in the water. Okay, so these are the murderers, but I don't know. It's sort of weird. Like, why is it a bird? Why is it ice? Why is this snake here? Anyways, yeah, that's all sounds about right. I'm curious though, even if you'd gotten away with it, how were you planning on escaping from Toyama's room? Hey, you're pretty smart, aren't you? Why don't you help come up with a perfect escape route for me? That's, whatever, it's not important. So everything I've said up to now has been correct, right? Yep, it has. So Asakura and Koizumi should be reviving in the morgue right about now, but there's still some questions I don't understand. Well, feel free to ask. Well, I want to ask both questions, but maybe I can only ask one without going back in time, so I'm more interested in this one. What did Asakura say to you when you two met up at the pool? When Asakura went to meet you at the pool, what did she say to you? I knew you'd want to ask that, but there's another question you want to ask too, right? I can answer both of them together because the answer to both of them are the same. The same? How come? Sai nodded, slowly turning her teacup with her right hand. She sat face to face with Ran Ibuki. For some reason, Ran felt she had countless experiences before where she'd faced off against Sai Yoruna, just like this. Could Yoruno's memories? Ran didn't feel anything like a headache or anything that might herald an oncoming headache. I know you like reasoning, you talk about how perverse and wrong our actions are, but you find satisfaction and pleasure in the act of thinking, and you greatly enjoy the process of deduction. What are you trying to say? So since you like it, I thought I'd try to do something you find fun. Sadly, my criminal powers weren't enough to live up to your expectations. Originally, I was trying to set up a closed circle serial killer cases, and of those, and then there were none were setups, but it looks like I'm just not up to the task of stimulating you. And Asakura was the same. She'd noticed that you enjoy this kind of thing, so she showed up at the pool to belittle me. She said that my methodology was childish and she'd seen through me instantly. Okay, it's sort of interesting writing because, like, yeah, the murders haven't been, that satisfying. The last couple, like, this murder case and the previous murder case with Tama being dead. Like, of course, the brutal way she was killed was interesting, but otherwise, like, they're not like, super inventive or anything. But, like, I guess the psychology, the the psychological reasoning behind the killer is sort of still interesting in this. Um, so, anyways, Sai paused there and eyed Tama before continuing. Then she told me to kill her. She said that maybe it'll let Ibuki have some fun. Let me have a bit of fun. Why? Ron leaned forward, smashing into the edge of the table and nearly toppling her cup of tea. Why? What's the meaning of something like that? And this way, it's like Asakura has killed herself for a second time. It's because she was grateful to you. You helped her relationship with Indo return to normal, and helped change her state of mind for the better. Helped change her state of mind should be, not helped changed. Come on, man, spelling. That's right, Ibuki-san. I share the same feelings that Asakura-san does. Tama stood up and reached out to hold Ran's hand, trying to reassure her. Please don't blame yourself for Asakura-san's actions. She just wanted to do something nice for you. But it's useless. I couldn't be of any use to Asakura. She's already killed herself back at Shibuya Crossing. She's already dead. She won't come back to life. Look, I was the one who actually did the deed, so it doesn't count as suicide, okay? Don't overthink this. Ran closed her eyes and covered her face with her hands. I know, but stop thinking about these things. Since there's no way to change what happened with Asakura and Koizumi-sensei, there's no point to me being miserable about it. So I should just stop thinking about it. Okay, I understand. In conclusion, you're correct again this round. Look forward to the next round. Once it's Indo's turn, I'm sure she'll have something incredibly spectacular in store for you. And yeah, I've been thinking, like, will there be a case that, Ran actually gets killed, and then maybe we have to play as other characters to figure out the murder or something. It would be an interesting switch if that happened. Ah, Yoruno-san, if you say it like that, you'll put so much pressure to me to perform on me, because we have their stats here, like, yeah, and Sakura is a super character, responsible for teaching language at the school. Writes the text like this, but yeah, she's really good at everything, and Take is, well, she's quite good at investigating and charisma as well. Tama is just good at charisma. Okay, anyway. So yeah, if they have stats, surely you have to use them at some point, or they're gonna be used against you or something. So yeah, if you say it like that, you'll put so much pressure on me. Ran felt like there was something stuck in her throat. She turned and cast a plaintive look at Anne. What is it, Ran? Miss Sakura, my only desire is for you to regain your memories and to depart here with me. I am not in any sense enjoying this. I don't think there's anything wrong if you are. Doing what you want to do and working on finding my memories aren't mutually incompatible. Ron knew that what Sai was saying about her wasn't wrong. She was clearly enjoying the death games, and through them she was even growing closer with Anne Sakura. Perhaps there really was nothing wrong with this. If even Miss Sakura thinks it's okay, then perhaps I should really just keep walking down the path I'm on right now. Right, those who are killed will revive, so even if I enjoy it, there's nothing wrong with that, right? The sound of revolving stars flashed through my awareness. If Ran Ibuki chose to remain here, then I. Therefore, cogito ergo sum. Ansakura fixed her eyes on Ran, and I suddenly started worrying that her face would spontaneously morph into that pallid head like spherical organ. Ah, wait. Because now is the second personality in Ibuki's head is speaking now. So maybe that is the An Sakura we see. Is that actually the eye creature, the sort of Lovecraftian ripoff creature? Then I guess that's what it means, and this one is An Sakura, the actual An Sakura's personality. I will live the way I want to as well. Makoto Asakura sat down and closed notes from the underground, leaned back in her chair, and let out a long exhalation. I'm quite looking forward to seeing the letter that Indo has apparently written for me, Ran. Her pointer finger tapped lightly against the book's cover, and Ran watched, waiting for the other girl to elaborate. My previous issues perhaps stemmed from a lack of self confidence, both in myself and in the environment around me. Just doing the things I was supposed to be doing, wrapping them up cleanly and checking them off, and then continuing on the next thing I'm supposed to do, without any faith that these actions could bring me any greater understanding, and not thinking for a moment about how I should connect myself to the greater world around me. I have no idea what I just read. I just read it. Um, And then Indo invaded my life all of a sudden. Something's gotten into my life. Anyways, her endless curiosity and fervent love stifled me and caused me to sink into confusion. Asakura pulled her hand back to support her chin with a smile. And at the same time, she had attracted my full attention without knowing it. My entire checklist had become things related to Indu, including, of course, killing her. Okay, you're saying all this in a really romantic tone of voice, but you have to know how terrifying that sounds, right? Well, it's not the same anymore. She's discovered temperance, and I'm learning to trust her. I also agree that Indo was being a bit too intimate with you before. The way things are now is pretty nice. Asakura laughed joyfully, shoulders slightly shaking, and then leaned her head, giving Ran a meaningful gaze that made her ears go red. Actually, she's being even more intimate and passionate with me than ever before. She likes the way I am now better than ever. Please don't make me picture weird things in my head. Let's talk about something else quick. Asakura put a hand on Ran's shoulder. Well, I understand why Yoruna likes teasing you so much now. You're a lot of fun to play with. The temperance I speak of refers to the way that she will no longer in the future seek to cuddle me in every possible way. Before, Indo's incessant caregiving made me think that she didn't have any respect for me. Like, if she didn't do it for me, I couldn't even button a shirt, brush my own teeth, wipe my mouth. I thought she's gonna say wipe my ass. That's all in the past, though. No need to linger on it. Asakura's hand slipped down from Ran's shoulders, following her arm until it clasped with Ran's own hand. I feel great right now, Ran. Thank you. You and Indo have long since been ready to take these steps forward. I didn't really do all that much. And in the future, please don't pull this actively inviting someone else to kill you to make a case for me to solve nonsense ever again. You being alive is more important than that. Asakura nodded and then let go of Ran's hand. I know you're not very accustomed to accepting the affection of others, so I limit myself to within your boundaries. So that'll be it for now. Then Indo's about to bring me that letter of hers, I believe. Ran stood up and stretched. Sure, just try not to make a mess of the library, okay? Asakura waved her hand without answering Ran. Ran stepped out of the schoolhouse, running towards her with a short gait was Tama Indo. Ibuki-san! Hearing Tama's heartening shouts, Ran subconsciously raised her hands. Tama didn't disappoint her expectations either and placed her hands into Ran's palms. It looks like you're in a good mood as well today. Tama nodded vigorously, her beautiful hair sweeping back and forth across her shoulders. It's because I brought the letter for Asakura-san to read. I'm looking forward to seeing what she has to say. Tama's radiant smile made Ran feel like she was going to get sunburned from her being around her. Well, I won't keep you then. Go see Asakura. Tama didn't let go of those words, though rather she held Ran's hands even tighter. Ibuki-san, when I saw Asakura-san's corpse, I experienced something wondrous. The meaning of my life instantly evaporated in that moment, but then was immediately replenished by another. Even though at the time I'd lost Asakura-san, I gained a better understanding of why I was able to continue living in this world. And the reason I was able to realize this was all because of your support, Ibuki-san. Tama stood on her toe tips, seeming quite excited. So if there's anything I can help with in the future, please tell me. I'm sure Asakura-san is thinking the same. Ran let go of Tama's hands and circled around her to her back. I got Miss Sakura, so the two of you don't need to be worried about me. She gave Tama's shoulder a pat and gently pushed her forward. Go ahead and find Asakura. I'm sure she's quite impatient to see you. Tama nodded with a bit of worry in her eyes, but after bowing to Ran, she walked off towards the schoolhouse. Ran, on the other hand, was just about to pull open the entrance to the dormitory when Sai Yoruna emerged from within. Ibuki, you and Sakura ran off so quickly after we drew lots, I was half thinking you might have run off to commit a murder. Wait, did we draw lots again already? Don't be ridiculous, I would never kill anyone. I didn't pull the culprit card this time either. If I had, I would probably have tried to figure out some sleight of hand that prevent the others from noticing before tossing it back in the pile. How about you? Are you going swimming again? It feels like today is even colder than usual. Yeah, I wanted to get one last swim in before the pool froze over. You wanna come? Nope. Sai gave Ran's head a gentle knock before heading off towards the pool. After the pool freezes over, it'll be long before I'll be able to see Yoruna take another swim. Maybe I'll go watch her later. Ran had just entered the dorms and taken off her shoes when she heard laughter from the dining room. Everything's going so swimmingly. Haha, so of course something tragic has to happen. Eventually. Oh haha, Miho, you watch this, how did you manage to make something like this? I don't know, I clearly followed Yoruna-san's recipe to the letter. Ran followed the sound to the dining room where Miho and Aya were sitting together and eating something. Ran-chan, come check out Miho's incredible quantum cheese fettuccine. What? Aya, don't. Ran poked her head in to look and saw some kind of viscous white liquid sitting on a plate in front of Miho. Some solid seemed to be suspended in gelatinous substance. On the other side of the table, Aya had a plate of Italian pasta covered in golden brown cheese. If these two plates were indeed meant to be the same dish, then Ran had no idea just how Miho had ended up with what was on her plate. Let me get a taste. Ran took the fork Aya handed her, rolled up a forkful of the spaghetti out from under the cheese and ate it. Oh, it's not bad. See, clearly you can make something like this if you just follow Sai's cookbook to the letter. I don't know how Miho managed to turn her attempt into a shot at the Nobel Prize. Shut up. Toyama, if you're so good at cooking, you should help Yoruna out a bit more in the future. Well, you know, rather than do the cooking, I prefer to just eat. Aya was, for some inexplicable reason, sitting with arms proudly akimbo. Apparently, akimbo is an old English word. Like, for a long time, I thought it's Japanese or something, but actually, I think it's an old English word. Like, you know, both hands in use because normally it's in, like, you know, shooting. If you have a gun in both hands, that's nowadays is called akimbo, but originally I guess it's like arms together or something. But well, I suppose I could help Miho out when she is secretly craving a midnight snack. Don't say nonsense like that in front of Ibuki-san. I don't go for midnight snacks. No, you totally do. Remember that one time. Ran quietly left the dining room, giving Miho and Aya back their private space. Ran headed up the stairs, so Koizumi was heading to the observation deck. She quietly followed Koizumi when her target had opened the door to the observation deck. She suddenly darted forward and laid her hands on Koizumi's shoulders. Koizumi! Ibuki-san! Koizumi turned around, one hand over her heart, with an expression of pleasant surprise. Please tell me before you prank me like this next time. But then it wouldn't be a surprise. The two of them entered the observation deck and each found a place to sit, keeping a bit of distance from each other. You know, Miss Sakura and I come up here pretty often. Oh yes, I know, and tells me about it frequently. Ran lowered her head. She was thinking about what the best distance between herself and Koizumi should be in their interactions to best lower the awkwardness on both sides. Koizumi's relationship to Ran was somewhat complex, and whether Ran chose to keep her distance or chose to approach close to her both left her hapless. Ibuki-san. Oh yeah? Next time, let's go out for another picnic. I'll bake some more cookies and prepare some drinks again. Koizumi, I'll invite Anne and the rest of the class as well. How's that sound? Ran nodded and slid a tiny bit closer to Koizumi. Sure, let's go together. Are we gonna finish this chapter soon? Ran returned to her room where she saw Anne gesturing to her from next to the window. Miss Sakura. Ran rapidly approached Anne and immediately noticed that there was something in Anne's jacket that was shining with white light. Oh, wait! Fruit knife hurtled towards Ran's heart. Half its blade sank into her chest. She coughed, and her mouth filled with thick, viscous blood. Okay, we are getting murdered. That's nice. So wait, is she throwing it from downstairs? I wanna... Okay, wait. Yeah. She returned to her room where she saw Anne gesturing to her from next to the window. So does it mean she's inside the room or is she outside and she's throwing the knife from outside? I don't know. She's got mad knife throwing skills. Ran didn't push her away but let herself get slammed onto the window instead. The notebook in her hands fell to the floor as well, splaying open to a pair of blank pages. Anne pulled the blade out, and immediately plunged into Ran's neck. She began pushing, trying to slash Ran's neck open horizontally. But the knife's blade seemed to have been stopped by the muscle, so she was forced to pull out the knife and take a few steps back to watch as Ran kneeled before the notebook. The force of her impact with the wall had pushed all the blood out of Ran's mouth, and now her chest and stomach erupted with a fountain of blood. She looked down, watching her blood slowly come to surround the notebook, before being absorbed by its pages drop by drop. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna theorize, because they even said that the texture of this notebook feels like the skin of Anne Sakura. So maybe this is like if the real body of Anne Sakura has been stolen, and her personality is stuck in Ibuki's body, or maybe this is like the physical representation of Sakura. So maybe now she's getting more power because she's absorbing all this blood. Maybe. The sudden and unanticipated assault had caused Ran to fall into disarray, but in the midst of the chaos, one bolt of eye-searing light was coming right towards her. Ran suddenly opened her eyes wide open, throwing away for a moment both her pain and the fact that she was about to die. She opened her mouth and shouted as countless memories enveloped her awareness like a storm. Ran's pierced heart began to beat wildly, causing even more blood to gush forth. She opened her mouth, raised her head, and stared at Anne Sakura dead on in the eyes. Ran, I think it's sort of hot. Anne's hands clenched the handle of the knife tightly, squeezing the blood that Ran had splattered on her out between her fingers. Seeing Anne's sorrowful face, Ran wanted to open her mouth to say something, but her previous shouts had already exhausted the last of her strength. Slowly she closed her eyes, and with the last of her light saw that the notebook had consumed almost all of the freshly shed blood on the floor. This filled her with peace. At last everything before Ran began to twist and distort, before finally fading out into infinite darkness. I like it. Now it's like, the pace is getting faster. I like it. Okay, chapter 2 complete. Chance to increase one of your stats has been acquired. Maybe I will end the stream here. I think this, finishing the chapter, and I am very eager to see what happens next, but I'll have to do it next time. I think this is a perfect time to end on a cliffhanger like this. Because sometimes there's too much idle chit chat and relationship stuff, and but I prefer the murder stuff in this game. I don't hate a bit of relationship stuff, of course, is good, and it makes the characters feel more real and stuff, but this gets me more excited still than the teenage drama or whatever there is. But anyways, I'm Adventure Argonaut. I thank you for watching, and next time we'll see how is this gonna be handled, this murder. Like, do we have to solve our own murder, or will we just wake up, or will we, I don't know, end up in the netherworld where we see something else strange, or are we gonna go to hell or something? But we'll see. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.